Hello and welcome back to the Deep Dive. I am so excited for today's session.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing something a little different today, something I think is really special.
Yeah.
Usually, we're tearing apart these complex articles, looking at the latest tech trends, or uh, diving into dense scientific papers,
The heavy stuff.
the really heavy stuff. But today we're focusing on a skill, a very specific, let's be honest, a very difficult and necessary skill for anyone navigating the English language.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
We're talking about communication.
Sure.
And we're talking directly to you, the learner out there who's trying to find your voice in English.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. And honestly, while we are definitely focusing on the English learner, I've been looking through the source material we have, and I have to say there are life lessons in here for native speakers, too.
Oh, absolutely.
I think we all struggle with communication sometimes. But yeah, today's breakdown is really tailored for the learner who wants to move from just, knowing the words to really mastering the vibe of the language.
Mastering the vibe.
Yeah.
I love that phrase. It's so true, though.
It is, isn't it?
You can know all the grammar in the world, have a perfect accent, but if you don't get the tone right,
Yeah,
it just doesn't land.
it falls flat.
And speaking of vibes, I have to ask, what's your current mood?
Yeah.
Because we've got some source material today from The Art of the Soft Refusal, which is a script from Cabby Perez English.
Okay.
And the character in there, who happens to share your name, by the way, is feeling pretty good.
I did notice that the Paul in the source material mentions he's just had a huge cup of coffee and is feeling absolutely fantastic.
Are you channeling that?
You know what? I am absolutely channeling that energy right now. I've got my coffee, I've got my notes spread out, and I am ready to unpack this.
Good.
Because when you think about it, communication is all about energy, isn't it?
Right.
It's about how you transfer a feeling from one person to another. And if you've got good energy, usually the conversation goes well.
Usually. But today's mission, it's a tricky one. We aren't talking about happy greetings or ordering coffee. We're looking at a problem that plagues almost everyone, regardless of what language they speak.
Okay.
It's the difficulty of saying no.
The dreaded no.
Right. It's 2 letters, N-O. It should be the easiest word in the dictionary to pronounce.
Yeah.
But in practice, it is. It's terrifying.
It really can be.
And the source material we're looking at today explicitly defines this core problem. How do you say no in English without sounding rude or mean or
Yeah.
just dismissive?
That is the million-dollar question. And what strikes me about this source text, the script from Cabby Perez English, is that it hits on the psychology of it immediately.
Yeah.
It doesn't just give you a list of words to memorize. It asks the question we're all secretly thinking.
Which is,
If I say no, will they still like me?
oh, wow, that hits home. That is the universal fear, isn't it?
It has to be.
It's not about the task or the invitation. It's about the relationship.
It really is. I mean, it's a primal human need for connection. We are wired to want to be part of the group, part of the tribe.
And saying yes feels like connection. It feels like safety.
Exactly. While saying no, that feels like rejection. It feels like you're pushing someone away, putting up a wall.
So the challenge, and what we're going to explore deeply today, is how to flip that script.
Mm-hmm.
The goal of this deep dive is to extract what the source calls magic phrases,
Magic phrases. I like that. It sounds like there's a cheat code to social interaction.
doesn't it?
In a way, there is. These are linguistic tools that allow a learner, or anyone, really, to be, as the text puts it, the nicest person in the room.
While still saying no.
While still declining an offer, it requires a very specific mix of confidence and kindness.
Okay, let's unpack that, because I think a lot of people assume that confidence means being loud or, aggressive.
Well, like being a bulldozer.
Yeah, and kindness can be mistaken for being a doormat who just says yes to everything.
Yeah.
But you're saying, and the source is saying, there's a middle ground.
Precisely. There is a sweet spot, a place where you respect your own time and your own boundaries. But you also genuinely respect the other person's feelings. Finding that sweet spot is what the source calls the art of the soft refusal.
The art of the soft refusal. I love it. Okay, so
Okay,
let's get into the psychology of this.
let's do it.
The source material features 2 characters, Emily and Paul. Great names, by the way.
The best names.
And the character Emily makes a really interesting point right off the bat. She highlights that saying no is often harder than saying yes. And Paul, the character Paul, he agrees, noting that even native speakers hate doing it.
And that is such a crucial validation for any learner listening to this. I just want to pause on that for a second.
Please.
If you are learning English and you feel awkward or scared or just plain weird saying no, please understand. It's not just you.
It's not the language barrier.
It's not just because you don't know the words. It's because the act itself is uncomfortable for everyone. The source notes that the hesitation comes from not wanting to hurt feelings.
But it's not a vocabulary problem.
It's not about vocabulary deficits. It's about relationship maintenance.
Relationship maintenance is a great way to put it. You're doing social preservation. You're trying to protect the bond you have with that person.
Exactly. You know, when you're learning a language, you're often so focused on the technical stuff, grammar, syntax.
Did I use the right verb tense? Is my pronunciation okay?
Right. And you forget the emotional weight of certain words. A blunt no in English can land very heavily. It's like a door slamming shut.
It stops the conversation dead in its tracks.
Mm-hmm.
It puts up that wall you mentioned.
Mm-hmm. So the strategies we're going to discuss today, they're all about keeping the windows open, even if you're shutting the door.
I love that analogy. Keeping the windows open while shutting the door. That is such a vivid way to think about it.
It helps, right?
It really does. Okay, so let's get into the actual strategy. The source material introduces a foundational concept, and it's called the sandwich method.
The sandwich method.
Now, usually when I hear sandwich, I think lunch. I think about cheese and tomatoes. But here, we're talking about a conversation sandwich.
We are. And it's a delicious metaphor for communication because it helps you visualize the structure of your sentence.
Okay, so break it down for us.
The source starts by describing the need for a buffer.
A buffer. Let's define that for our listeners.
Yeah, think of a buffer as like an airbag in a car or maybe a soft pillow. It's something soft that protects the other person from the impact of the no.
Yeah.
If I just throw a no at you, it's like throwing a rock. It hurts. It's startling.
Yeah, it's jarring.
But if I wrap that rock in a pillow...
It's still a rock, but it doesn't leave a bruise.
Exactly. So in the sandwich method, as it's described in the source, we have 3 distinct layers.
The bread, the filling, and the other bread.
Perfect. Slice of bread number 1 is the positive thought.
Okay, positive thought. That's the top bun, the first thing they hear.
Then comes the filling. The filling is the no, the actual refusal, the bad news.
The meat of the matter. Or the tofu, if you're vegetarian.
Right. And then slice of bread number 2, the bottom bun that holds it all together, is the closing positive or hope for the future.
So positive, no, positive. You surround the negative part with good vibes.
You do. And the rule, the absolute golden rule from the source material is this. Never start with no.
Never.
Yeah.
That one seems pretty strict.
Never. Not if you want to be polite. In English, starting a sentence with a bald no, it sets a confrontational tone immediately.
It signals a dead end.
It does. If you want to be soft, you must start with the buffer. You have to start with phrases like, I'd love to, but, or, that sounds great, however.
I'd love to, but
Yeah.
It's such a simple phrase, isn't it? We hear it all the time. But when you really analyze it, it does so much heavy lifting.
It does a ton of work.
It immediately tells the other person, hey, I like you. I like your idea. I am not rejecting you.
You're validating them. And that's what people are desperate for. When someone invites you somewhere or asks for a favor, they're putting themselves out there.
They're being vulnerable.
Yes, they are. They want to know their offer was heard and appreciated. Once you've established that with the first slice of bread, I'd love to, you can slip in the no much more easily.
Because they already feel respected.
Exactly.
That makes so much sense. You are managing their emotions before you even deliver the actual message.
That's a great way to put it. You're preparing the ground.
Okay, I want to see this in action. The source material gives us a very specific and frankly hilarious scenario to illustrate this.
I know which one you're talking about.
It's a social situation.
Ah, yes, the yoga invite.
The yoga invite. So in the source, the character Emily invites the character Paul to a yoga class.
Yeah.
But not just any yoga class.
No.
It's a 5.00 a.m. yoga class.
5.0A, that is aggressive.
It is offensive. Who does yoga at 5:00 a.m.? I mean, I admire the discipline, but I am not that person.
You and me both. The source says the character Paul explicitly mentions he likes sleeping too much, and I have to say, I relate to that character deeply.
Same. I need my 8 hours minimum. So here's the trap.
Yeah.
Someone you like invites you to something you absolutely, positively do not want to do. If you say yes, you're miserable, you're waking up in the dark, you're tired, you're cranky.
You resent the whole experience.
But if you say no, you risk looking lazy, or worse, unsupportive of your friend's healthy new habit.
It's a classic social dilemma, so how did the character handle it?
Well, he used a textbook soft refusal. It was perfect.
Let's break down his exact words. He said, "I'd love to support your yoga practice, but 5 a.m. is a bit too early for me. Maybe next time."
Okay, let's really unpack that because there are three distinct components there, and they match our sandwich theory perfectly.
They do. So component number one, the validation. That's the first slice of bread.
I'd love to support your yoga practice.
Notice he didn't say, "I'd love to go to yoga."
That's a sharp catch. That is a very subtle but powerful distinction. Why is that so important?
Well, if he says, "I'd love to go," he's technically lying because he hates 5 to 0 a.m. He does not want to go.
Okay, that's fair.
But by saying, "I'd love to support your yoga practice," he's validating her interest. He's saying, "I support you doing this thing you love. I think it's cool that you do yoga."
So it's about her, not about the activity.
Exactly. It makes Emily feel good about her hobby, even though Paul isn't joining her for it.
That is really smart. So you focus on supporting the person, even if you can't support the specific time or activity.
Correct. Then comes component number 2, the reason. The filling of the sandwich.
You know part.
Right. And the source advises keeping this short. He simply says, 5:00 a.m. is a bit too early for me.
He doesn't go into a long story about his sleep cycle, or how late he stayed up watching TV, or how his bed is just too comfortable.
No. And that's a trap minute learners fall into. We could call it the guilt ramble.
The guilt ramble.
Yes.
They feel so bad about saying no that they over-explain. They think if they give 10 reasons, the no will somehow be softer.
Oh, I can't go because I have to walk the dog and then I have to cook breakfast and my leg hurts a little and I think it might rain. And it just sounds like they're making excuses. It sounds defensive.
Yeah, it sounds like you're trying too hard to convince them, which actually makes it less convincing.
It does. Short and sweet is better. It's too early for me. That's a personal fact. It's undeniable. No one can argue with your own preference for sleep.
That's a good point. You can't debate a feeling.
Exactly. And then we get to the final slice of bread. Component number 3.
The bottom of the sandwich.
The future bridge.
The future bridge. I love this term. It's so descriptive. In this case, it's just 2 words.
Maybe next time.
Okay, this is the deep dive insight right here. When you say maybe next time, what are you actually doing socially?
You are signaling that the door is not locked and bolted shut. You're rejecting this specific instance, this specific 5 a.m. time slot, but you're not rejecting the invitation to hang out in the future.
So a question for you that a lot of our listeners might have. Does it mean you actually have to go next time?
Good question.
Like, if she asks again for a 6 p.m. class, are you now obligated?
Not necessarily. Maybe is a wonderful, magical, non-committal word. But grammatically and socially, it functions as a bridge to a future interaction. It's all about maintaining the relationship.
So you're saying we are still friends who do things together.
Just, it's not this thing at this time.
It effectively separates the event from the friendship.
Mm.
I reject the 5 a.m. wake-up call, but I accept you as my friend.
Perfectly put. That is the absolute core of the social soft refusal.
So that's the social side. The stakes are emotional there.
Yeah.
But usually, your friends will forgive you. But now let's shift gears.
Okay.
Let's talk about a context where the stakes are, financial or maybe even career-ending. Let's talk about professional situations.
The workplace. This is where saying no gets really, really scary.
It does. And the source material gives us a classic high-pressure scenario.
Let me guess. The boss.
The boss. The boss asks you to work late. But you have family dinner plans. Maybe it's a birthday. Maybe it's just a commitment you made to your partner or your kids.
This is the ultimate conflict, isn't it? Duty to work versus duty to your life.
And as the character Emily notes in the source, you can't simply say, "No way, boss, I'm busy."
Please, for everyone listening, do not say, "No way, boss." That is what we call a resume-generating event.
Huh. Yes. You might find yourself with a lot of free time.
You need to be much more tactical. You need to sound professional, competent, but also firm.
The source highlights what they call B1 power words. Can you explain what that means? B1 refers to the language proficiency level, right? Like intermediate.
Yes, exactly. In language learning frameworks, B1 is that intermediate stage where you're becoming an independent user of the language. You're not a beginner anymore.
Okay.
But calling them power words suggests they do more than just convey meaning. They convey status. They convey professionalism.
So these are words that make you sound like an adult who is in control of the situation.
That's a perfect way to describe it. They add a layer of seriousness and respect to your communication.
So what are these power words? Let's equip our listeners. What's the first one?
The first one is appreciate, as in, I appreciate you asking me to help.
Why is appreciate better than just saying thanks. Like, thanks for asking me.
Well, thanks is casual. It's fine, but it's what you say when someone passes you the salt at lunch. Appreciate has more gravity. It implies you've actually thought about the request.
It acknowledges the opportunity.
Yes, even if the opportunity is just more work, phrasing it that way shows you're a team player.
Yeah.
You're acknowledging that the boss trusted you with this important last-minute task.
So you're saying, I value that you came to me.
Right. You're kind of flattering them a little bit. It makes the boss feel like they made a good choice in asking you, which keeps the professional relationship positive.
Even though you're about to say no.
Even though you're about to say no, and then comes the pivot. The second power word, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. It's a long word, 5 syllables. It sounds very formal.
It is, but it's a crucial signal. In linguistics, we look at how listeners predict what's coming next in a conversation.
Okay.
When you start a clause with, unfortunately, the listener's brain immediately knows a refusal is coming. There is no ambiguity.
So it softens the blow because they see it coming.
Exactly. But also, because you used unfortunately, you are framing that refusal as something you were sad about.
It's not, I don't want to. It's more like, I wish I could, but circumstances beyond my control are preventing me.
Precisely. It shifts the blame from your own desire to some external circumstances. It makes you and your boss allies against the situation rather than adversaries.
That's a powerful shift in dynamic.
And speaking of circumstances, the source suggests a brilliant phrase for the actual excuse. Prior commitment.
Prior commitment. I love this phrase. I have a prior commitment. It sounds so official, so unarguable.
It sounds professional, and here's why it works so well. It is vague.
Vague is good. I feel like we're usually taught to be specific to be more convincing.
In many cases, yes, but in this case, vague is your best friend.
Why?
If you say, I can't work late because I have to go to my cousin's birthday dinner and we're having tacos, that's way too much information.
Right, because the boss might think, well, tacos aren't as important as this quarterly report. Skip the tacos.
Exactly. You are giving them room to judge your reason. You're inviting them to negotiate your personal life.
I never thought of it that way.
But prior commitment is a wall. It's a professional boundary. It simply means I have already promised my time to something or someone else.
It also implies that you're a person of your word. You keep your commitments.
It does. It's a way of saying you're busy without over-explaining or justifying your personal life to your employer. It protects your privacy.
It says, my time is spoken for, and that's the end of the discussion.
But you can't just stop there. In a professional setting, you can't just say, no, I have a commitment, and then walk away.
Right, because that leaves the boss with a problem. The work still needs to be done. The deadline is still there.
Exactly. If you just leave the problem on their desk, you aren't being helpful. You're not being a problem solver.
So this is where the sandwich needs another layer.
Yes. The source introduces the alternative strategy, the counteroffer.
And in the script, the specific suggestion is, could we look at this first thing tomorrow morning?
This is brilliant. It's the bottom slice of bread in our professional sandwich. You are saying no to the time, which is tonight, but a firm yes to the task, which is tomorrow.
You're showing willingness. You aren't dodging the work itself.
Yes. You are demonstrating that you're still dedicated to the job. You aren't lazy, you just have a scheduling conflict. By offering a solution first thing tomorrow morning, you're taking ownership of the problem.
And the phrase first thing sounds very proactive.
It does.
It implies you will prioritize it above everything else when you walk in the door. It's not sometime tomorrow. It's first thing.
Exactly. It comforts the boss. They know the work will get done. They can relax. You've solved their problem for them.
So the source connects this to a broader tip called offering an alternative. And they give a social example for this too, right?
They do. I can't go to the cinema tonight, but are you free on Saturday?
It's the same principle, whether it's business or friendship.
Exactly the same. The alternative strategy says, I value this interaction and I want it to happen. Let's just reschedule. It keeps the connection alive. It prevents the no from being a dead end.
So we've covered the nice friend and the professional, but generally reasonable boss. Usually these people are reasonable, but what about the difficult person?
The pushy person.
We all know one. The person who just won't take no for an answer. The person who treats your no as the start of a negotiation.
Oh yeah, for them, no just means convince me.
Exactly. The source has a specific section for this, for when someone keeps pushing.
This is where the soft refusal has to harden just a little bit. If you're too soft with a pushy person, they'll just steamroll you.
So the source advises being firm but fair.
Firm but fair. That's a tough balance to strike. Because you still want to be polite, but you need to be very, very clear.
If you're too soft, if you say, I don't think so, they hear, there's a chance.
They hear, ask me again in 5 minutes, maybe I'll change my mind.
So how do we shut it down without being rude? The source gives us a specific boundary script, a phrase to use.
The script is, I've checked my schedule and it's just not possible right now.
Okay, let's break that down. I've checked my schedule. Why that phrase specifically?
It appeals to objectivity. It takes the decision out of your hands.
What do you mean?
If I say, I don't want to, that's personal. It's about my feelings. You can argue with my feelings. You can try to persuade me. You can say, oh, come on, it'll be fun.
Great, you can try to change my mind.
But if I say, the schedule says no, that's an external fact. It's not me. It's this thing called my schedule. You can't argue with a calendar.
It's like blaming the bureaucracy of your own life. I would love to, but the schedule, you see, the schedule is the boss.
Exactly. It makes the refusal objective, not personal. And notice the second part. It's just not possible right now.
I can't, but it's not possible. That seems like a tiny difference.
It is, but we're getting into some deep grammar here that's really important for learners. This is using an existential structure. It removes the I from the equation.
Ah, okay.
It presents the impossibility as a state of the universe. It's not that I am refusing you, it's that the situation is impossible.
Wow. We're getting deep into the philosophy of grammar here.
Mm-hmm.
But it works. It creates distance.
That's what we do. We deconstruct the language to give you power. But there's one more crucial piece to this pushy person puzzle.
Okay.
The conversation ender.
Right. So you've said your piece. You've blamed your schedule. What if they still look like they're about to argue?
The source highlights a closing phrase, thank you for understanding.
This is my favorite one. It is psychologically brilliant.
It really is.
Why does it work so well? It just sounds polite. Thank you for understanding. That's nice.
It sounds polite, but it is actually a command wrapped in silk. Think about what's happening there. When you say thank you for understanding before the person has actually agreed to understand, you are creating a social contract on the spot.
You're assuming they are going to be nice. You're pre-thanking them for their good behavior.
You are trapping them in their own desire to be seen as a good person. You're effectively saying, I assume you are a reasonable, kind person who respects boundaries.
And so for them to keep pushing after that, they would have to prove you wrong. They would have to actively choose to be unreasonable, to be the jerk.
Exactly. It forces them to live up to the compliment you've just given them. It politely, but very firmly, closes the negotiation.
It's not a question. It's a statement.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for understanding. Period. It signals that this conversation on this topic is now over.
That is some Jedi mind trick stuff right there. You're thanking them for behavior they haven't even done yet to ensure that they do it.
It's essential survival skills for the modern world, especially for English learners who might feel intimidated or feel like they don't have the authority to end a conversation. This phrase gives you the final word. So we have built up quite a toolkit here. I want to do a quick recap of what we've learned from the source material. We have these tools, and I want to make sure our listeners have them ready in their pockets.
Let's review the arsenal.
Okay. Tool number 1, the buffer.
That's your I'd love to, but... Or, that sounds amazing, however. It softens the blow. It validates the person before you delivered the bad news.
Tool number 2, softener words.
Words like unfortunately or actually. These act as turn signals in the conversation. They prepare the listener for the refusal so it isn't a shock.
Tool number 3, offer an alternative.
I can't do X, but I can do Y. This shows willingness. It keeps the relationship moving forward and solves the problem, which is especially important at work.
And finally, tool number 4, the future bridge.
Maybe another time. Let's catch up soon. This is for social survival. It validates the person while rejecting the time. It keeps the friendship intact.
There is also an emotional component the source touches on at the very end, which I think is just as important as the phrases. The character Emily reminds the listener, don't feel guilty.
This is so much easier said than done, I know, but it is absolutely vital. The source material emphasizes that saying no is a normal, healthy part of life.
So why do we feel so guilty? Why is it so hard to just say no without this whole song and dance?
I think it's because we confuse refusal with rejection.
Say more about that.
We think if we say no to a request, we are rejecting the person who asked. We think we're being a bad friend, a bad employee, a bad person. We think we're letting someone down.
And nobody wants to be the person who lets people down.
Of course not. But as the expert in the source implies, you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you say yes to everything, you burn out. You become resentful.
That's the worst. When you say yes, but you're angry about it the whole time you're doing the thing.
Exactly. And the other person can feel that resentment. So saying no politely is actually an act of kindness to yourself, first and foremost, but also to the other person.
How is it kind to them?
Because it means when you do say yes, you actually mean it. You are 100% present. You are happy to be there. Your yes is genuine.
That is so true. A resentful yes is so much worse than a polite no. I think that's something we all need to write down and remember.
100%. Boundaries are healthy. They make for better relationships, not worse ones.
Well, this has been an incredibly practical deep dive. I feel like I have a suit of armor now. I can go out and say, unfortunately, I have a prior commitment to everyone.
Use your power wisely. Don't just go around saying no to everything now.
I won't. But before we go, we need to give our listeners a challenge.
Ah, yes, the call to action.
We want you to put this into practice. The source asks a great question. What is the hardest thing for you to say no to?
I want everyone listening to think about that right now. Just take a second. Is it lending money to friends?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Is it working overtime when you're already exhausted? Is it social events on the weekend when you just want to stay home and recharge?
Identify that weak spot, that one area where you always cave in, where you always say yes and then regret it. And then I want you to mentally practice your polite no, using the structures we've discussed today.
Imagine the sandwich. Imagine using a buffer.
Visualize the whole scenario. Your friend asks to borrow money. You take a breath, and you say, I'd love to help you out, but unfortunately, I have a really strict budget this month. Maybe I can help you look for other options.
Perfect. That's a perfect sandwich. You validated the desire to help. You gave a clear but impersonal reason, the budget. And you offered an alternative, which was helping them brainstorm.
It takes practice. It's going to feel awkward the first few times.
Yeah.
But once you have the script in your head, it gets so much easier.
Okay, my turn. My friend asked me to help them move a giant, heavy couch on Saturday.
Okay.
Oh man, I'd love to help you move your couch, but unfortunately, I have a prior commitment with my chiropractor. Maybe ask Steve.
Poor Steve. Always getting asked to move things.
Steve has a truck, he'll be fine. Well, that brings us to the end of our analysis of the art of the soft refusal. Any final thoughts?
Just to reiterate the goal from the source, keep practicing and keep being polite.
Language is a muscle. The more you use these phrases, unfortunately, I'd love to, but I appreciate you asking, the more natural they'll feel. Eventually, you won't even have to think about the sandwich. You'll just naturally be a polite, boundary-setting communicator.
And as the character Emily signed off in the source, learning English and learning to communicate well should always be a joy. We really hope this deep dive brought you a little bit of that joy today.
Indeed. It's all about empowerment.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Go forth and say no politely.
Thank you for understanding.
See what he did there? Perfect ending. Bye, everyone.